Senior analyst Sixtel's crystalline appendages trembled as they monitored the quantum display screens, filling the Galactic Council's communication hub. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. The constant stream of electromagnetic chatter from Earth, humanity's endless digital heartbeat that had pulsed through space for centuries, had simply stopped. "Run the diagnostic sequence again," Sixtel ordered, their voice resonating through the chamber's acoustic crystals. The junior analysts scrambled to comply, their own crystalline forms catching and refracting the soft blue light of the surrounding monitors. For 347 cycles, Sixtel had served as the hub's foremost expert on emerging civilizations. They had witnessed the rise and fall of dozens of species, each following predictable patterns of technological growth and eventual decline. But this was different. The diagnostic results flashed across the screens again. No errors, no equipment malfunctions. The silence was real. "Show me the last 12 hours of Earth's broadcasts," Sixtel commanded, their crystalline form shifting to its analysis configuration. The time-space display materialized before them, a three-dimensional representation of Earth's electromagnetic spectrum. The pattern was disturbing. There had been no gradual decline, no degradation of signal strength that typically preceded a civilization's collapse. At precisely 3:42 Galactic Standard Time, every transmission from Earth had simply ceased. Music, entertainment broadcasts, military communications, civilian networks, all gone in an instant. "Access the Alpha Proxima monitoring station," Sixtel instructed. The display shifted, showing the closest observation post to Earth's solar system. The data stream from the station was sporadic, filled with unusual gaffes. "Station reports multiple sensor malfunctions," one of the junior analysts reported. "They're also detecting irregular gravitational fluctuations throughout the system." Sixtel's memory crystals pulsed with recognition. They had seen something similar before, centuries ago, in humanity's historical records. Naval battles where ships would go dark before launching decisive strikes. Special operations teams cutting all communications before critical missions. The pattern was there, but the scale was unprecedented. A soft chime interrupted their thoughts. Another monitoring station had gone dark, this one in the Ta City system. That made 7 stations in the past 6 hours, each failing in sequence, each one closer to Earth than the last. "Access the Council's threat assessment archives," Sixtel commanded. "Display all instances of civilizations going silent before major technological breakthroughs." The results were unsettling. In the Council's 50,000 years of records, there were exactly 3 cases of species achieving significant technological leaps after periods of silence. All 3 had fundamentally altered the balance of power in their regions. All 3 had been preceded by patterns of systematic sensor failures. Sixtel began composing their report to the Council, their crystalline fingers weaving complex patterns in the air as they dictated. "High Council, I regret to inform you that Earth's silence represents a Type 7 civilization shift event. All historical indicators suggest." They stopped mid-sentence as new data flowed across their screens. Deep space gravitational sensors were detecting something massive moving through the void between stars. Not ships, something far larger. The distortions appeared for just moments before vanishing, but their pattern was clear. They were forming a perfect sphere around Earth's solar system. "Enhance Sector 479, Sixtel ordered, focusing on a particular gravitational anomaly. For a brief moment, they caught it. A glimpse of something impossible. A structure larger than a small moon, visible only by the way it bent light around itself. Then it was gone, leaving nothing but questions and the oppressive weight of Earth's silence. Sixtel's report took on a new urgency. Whatever humanity was planning, their silence wasn't a sign of decline. It was a prelude to something far more significant. And based on the expanding sphere of sensor failures, the galaxy wouldn't have to wait long to discover exactly what that meant. The silence of Earth wasn't the end of something. It was only the beginning. Junior historian Vexera burst into Zixtal's private research chamber, their bioluminescent patterns flashing with excitement. In their grasp was an ancient data crystal, its surface scratched and worn from countless cycles of use. "Senior analyst, you need to see this," Vexera said, their translator struggling to keep pace with their rapid speech. "I've been studying Earth's military history, and I found something in the restricted archives." Zixtal's crystalline form shifted from its rest configuration, interest piqued by the young historian's urgency. "Show me." The data crystal projected its contents into the chamber's holographic display. Images of Earth's past conflicts materialized in the air around them, each accompanied by detailed analytical notes from previous council observers. "Look here," Vexera manipulated the display, zooming in on an ancient river crossing. Earth year 1776. A military commander named Washington led his forces across a treacherous river in complete silence. The enemy never detected them. The entire course of their American Revolution changed that night. Zixtal's analysis crystals pulsed with recognition. A single tactical victory. No, that's just the beginning. Vexera's patterns shifted to deeper blues of scholarly excitement. Earth's Second World War. The humans created entire phantom armies, inflatable tanks, false radio traffic, empty camps, while their real forces moved in total silence. They called it Operation Foretold. The display shifted again, showing more recent history. The information age brought something called digital dark zones, spaces where electronic signatures simply vanished. Their military vessels could move through these zones undetected, using something called stealth technology. Zixtal moved closer to the display, their crystalline appendages tracing patterns in the historical data. And each advancement was preceded by silence. Vexera completed the thought. But here's what's truly fascinating. These weren't just military tactics. Look at their technological breakthroughs. New images appeared. The first atomic pile under a squash court in Chicago, the hidden laboratories of the Manhattan Project, the secret development of early quantum computers. Each major leap forward had been wrapped in layers of silence and misdirection. "The humans have a saying," Vexera added, consulting their cultural database. "Still waters run deep." They seem to believe that true power moves quietly. A soft chime interrupted their discussion. A new report from the long-range scanning arrays appeared in the display. Earth's industrial centers, while silent, were showing unprecedented levels of activity. Energy signatures suggested massive manufacturing operations, but no electromagnetic emissions leaked into space. "They've learned to contain their signatures completely," Zixtal mused, their tone carrying notes of both admiration and concern. "But what are they building?" Vexera manipulated the historical display again, overlaying the current data with past patterns. "Look at the energy distribution. It's similar to their early space program, but the scale is." They paused, double-checking their calculations, "at least 10,000 times larger." Another alert sounded. 3 more monitoring stations had gone dark, their final transmissions showing the same gravitational distortions as the others. The sphere of silence around Earth's solar system was contracting, growing denser. "There's something else," Vexera said, their patterns shifting to cautionary amber. "I found references to human military exercises called Going Dark, cutting all communications before major operations. The longest recorded instance lasted 62 Earth days." "How long has Earth been silent now?" Zixtal asked, though they already knew the answer. 59 days, Vexera replied softly. The implications hung in the air between them. Whatever humanity was preparing for, they were approaching their longest recorded period of strategic silence. Either they would break their own record or— "We need to warn the Council," Zixtal decided, their form shifting to its most formal configuration. "If history is any indication, we're about to witness something unprecedented." As if in response to their words, the chamber's displays flickered briefly, showing a massive energy surge from the direction of Earth's solar system. By the time they stabilized, The surge had vanished, but both aliens knew they had glimpsed something important. The question was, had they glimpsed it because humans had made a mistake, or because they were meant to see it? The merchant vessel Star Weaver transmitted its final message at the edge of the Orc cloud. Detecting unusual spatial distortions. Request immediate. Then nothing. No debris. No emergency beacon. No radiation signature. The ship and its crew of 27 simply ceased to exist. Zixtal stood before the High Council, their crystalline form maintained in perfect formal alignment despite their growing unease. The display behind them showed 32 similar incidents over the past week, a growing constellation of disappearances forming a perfect sphere around Earth's solar system. The pattern is undeniable, Zixtal explained, manipulating the holographic display. Each vanished vessel was carrying specific cargo. Advanced quantum processors, experimental propulsion components, prototype sensor arrays. Counselor Mirith, their ancient form glowing with deep purple skepticism, interrupted. You suggest these are targeted attacks? Impossible. The routes were classified. The manifests encrypted. Yet the pattern exists. Vexra chimed in from their junior position, earning sharp looks from several council members. The young historian projected a new overlay onto the display. We've analyzed the cargo manifests. Every seized component could theoretically be used to construct a quantum communications network. Or, they hesitated, patterns flickering nervously, a system for manipulating spacetime itself. The council chamber erupted in murmurs. Quantum manipulation of spacetime remained theoretical, even for the most advanced council races. The energy requirements alone were astronomical. A new alert flashed across the display. The luxury cruiser Stellar Dream had just dropped out of hyperspace at the Centauri waypoint, 12 hours ahead of schedule. Its captain's message was brief. We saw it. Creator help us. We saw it. The ship's sensor logs appeared on the display. At first, they showed nothing unusual, just the usual starfield. Then the distortion began. Space itself seemed to fold, creating geometric patterns that shouldn't be possible in normal spacetime. In the center of the pattern, something massive moved. The sensors couldn't get a clear reading, but the scale estimates were clear. Whatever they had glimpsed was larger than any known constructed object in the galaxy. The humans are building something, Zixtal concluded. Something that defies our understanding of physics, and they're gathering the components they need by simply taking them. But how? Counselor Mirith demanded. Our ships are shielded, armed. They never get the chance to defend themselves. Vexra explained, pulling up another sensor log. Look at the quantum signature readings. The space around these ships isn't being penetrated or breached. It's being rewritten. The vessels aren't being destroyed. They're being transformed at the quantum level. The implications settled over the council chamber like a heavy fog. If humanity had mastered quantum manipulation at this scale, traditional defenses were meaningless. Even the council's most advanced shielding technology operated on principles that humans could apparently rewrite at will. Another alert. A research station in the Kuiper Belt had captured a new image before going dark. The hologram showed a massive structure, partially phased out of normal spacetime. Its surface seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, making it visible only by the starfield distortions it created. We've analyzed its position, Zixtal reported, their voice steady despite their rising concern. It's one of dozens, maybe hundreds, forming a perfect geometric pattern around Earth's solar system. We believe these structures are not weapons or defenses, but components of a larger system. What kind of system? The council leader finally spoke, their ancient form pulsing with worried light. Before Zixtal could answer, every display in the chamber flickered simultaneously. For a fraction of a second, they showed something impossible, a mathematical equation that seemed to describe the fundamental structure of spacetime itself. Then the displays returned to normal, leaving the council in stunned silence. That, Zixtal said quietly, was not an accident. They wanted us to see it. They're not just taking our technology. They're showing us they've surpassed it. The question is, why demonstrate their capability without using it? The answer, Zixtal suspected, would either doom the Council or transform it forever. And humanity's silence suggested they weren't done revealing their true capabilities. The luxury cruiser Stellar Symphony drifted into Centauri Station's docking area like a ghost ship from ancient legends. Its hull gleamed perfectly, untouched by the usual scars of space travel. Too perfectly, Zixtal noted as they studied the approaching vessel. The ship's quantum signature was wrong, as if it had been subtly altered at the atomic level. Preliminary scans show all passengers alive and unharmed, Vexra reported, their patterns cycling through shades of confusion. But their vital signs are unusual. Elevated endorphin levels, increased neural activity. They're not traumatized. They're excited. The station's reception chamber filled with passengers as they disembarked. Wealthy tourists from a dozen species, all talking at once, their translator matrices struggling to keep pace with their eager descriptions. It was beautiful, a Meridian silk trader exclaimed, all 6 eyes dilated with wonder, like watching space itself turn into crystal. The geometry, a Solarian mathematician muttered, frantically sketching equations on a datapad. Impossible angles. Perfect symmetry. A structure that large shouldn't be able to maintain that form. And yet, Zixtal moved through the crowd, their crystalline sensors recording every word, every gesture. These weren't the reactions of people who had faced a threat. They were the reactions of people who had witnessed something transformative. A human child's drawing caught their attention. The girl had sketched what looked like a massive geometric shape, its surfaces covered in patterns that seemed to shift and change even on the static paper. What struck Zixtal wasn't the object itself, but the mathematical precision in those childish lines. No child should have been able to reproduce such complex patterns accidentally. "Show me what you saw," Zixtal requested gently, approaching the ship's captain, a veteran Andromedan with centuries of space experience. The captain's tentacles trembled slightly as they interfaced with the station's holographic projector. The image that appeared was incomplete, full of static and distortions, but what it showed made Zixtal's crystalline structure resonate with shock. A massive structure hung in the void, its surface a perfect array of geometric shapes that seemed to fold into themselves impossibly. As they watched, the structure appeared to phase in and out of normal spacetime, each fluctuation accompanied by waves of distortion that rippled through the surrounding space. "That's not the remarkable part," the captain said quietly. "Watch." The hologram shifted. A small meteor, probably no larger than a transport ship, drifted toward the structure. As it approached, the geometric patterns on the structure's surface shifted, creating new configurations. The meteor didn't impact or disintegrate. It simply ceased to be, its matter and energy seamlessly absorbed into the larger pattern. "They've mastered matter conversion on a fundamental level," Vexra whispered, their scholarly excitement overriding their usual formality. "They're not just building structures, they're rewriting the basic rules of physics." Another passenger approached, this one a council physicist. The patterns, they said, manipulating the hologram with practiced precision. "They're not random. Look." They highlighted specific sequences in the geometric display. "These are mathematical expressions of quantum field theory, but far more advanced than anything we've developed. They're not just showing us their technology. They're showing us how it works." Zixtal's analysis crystals pulsed with sudden understanding. "Because they want us to understand it. This isn't a show of force, it's a demonstration." A new alert flashed across the station's communication array. Similar structures had been detected throughout Council space, each one perfectly positioned according to some vast geometric pattern. But unlike typical military deployments, these structures weren't hidden. They were visible to anyone who looked closely enough, as if humanity wanted their presence known. But why? Vexra asked, their patterns shifting to show their confusion. Why reveal such power without using it? Before Zixtal could respond, every screen in the station flickered simultaneously. For a brief moment, they displayed a simple message in perfect council standard. Watch the spaces between the stars. As the message faded, Zixtal realized humanity's silence hadn't been about hiding their achievements. It had been about teaching the council how to see what had been there all along, a lesson that would soon change everything they thought they knew about the universe itself. Deep in the crystalline archives of the Galactic Council, a forgotten research team made an impossible discovery. Dr. Kiran Chen, a third-generation human xenorchaeologist working with the Council, stared at her quantum display in disbelief. Her team had spent months analyzing Earth's final transmissions, looking for any clue about humanity's sudden silence. What they found hidden in the background noise changed everything. "Senior Analyst Zixtal," Kiran called out, her voice steady despite her excitement. "I think you need to see this." Zixtal's crystalline form shifted into its analysis configuration as they studied the display. At first glance, it showed ordinary human broadcast patterns, entertainment signals, communication networks, the usual electromagnetic chatter of an advanced civilization. But underneath, "We've been looking at it wrong," Kiran explained, manipulating the quantum interface. Everyone focused on the silence after the transmission stopped. But look at the pattern in the gaps between signals during the last year of broadcasts. The display zoomed in, showing the microseconds between normal transmissions. There, hidden in what everyone had assumed was empty space, was a complex mathematical sequence. "It's a language," Vexra realized, their patterns flickering with scholarly excitement, but not one meant for normal communication. "Look at the structure. It's describing quantum states." Kiran nodded. Humanity didn't go silent. They switched to a completely different form of communication, one that exists in the spaces between conventional signals. "We've been so focused on the noise that we missed the symphony hidden in the silence." Another researcher, a proximate quantum theorist, interfaced with the display. "These patterns, they're not just carrying information. They're affecting quantum fields themselves. Each sequence is like a note in a universe-spanning song." Zixtal's analysis crystals pulsed rapidly as they processed the implications. "Show me the pattern progression over the past 5 years." The display expanded, showing a time-lapse of Earth's broadcasts. The hidden quantum language grew more complex, more refined, spreading through the gaps between conventional signals like roots through soil. And in the final days before the silence, the pattern reached its peak complexity. "It's a countdown," Vexra whispered, their patterns shifting to deep blues of revelation. But not to an attack. "Look at the mathematical progression. It's building toward something else." Dr. Chen interfaced with the Council's astronomical database. "The pattern matches the geometric structures we've been seeing. They're not separate installations. They're nodes in a vast network, all vibrating to the same quantum frequency." As if responding to her words, the archive's quantum sensors detected a surge of activity. The geometric structures throughout Council space had begun to pulse in perfect synchronization, each one emitting signals in the same mathematical language they'd discovered hidden in Earth's old broadcasts. "The countdown is nearly complete," Zixtal announced, their crystalline form resonating with the distant pulses. "But what happens when it reaches zero?" The answer came from an unexpected source. A maintenance drone, routine checking the archive's power systems, suddenly projected a hologram into the center of the room. The image showed a simple double helix, the basic structure of human DNA. But as they watched, it began to transform. The spiral unwound, revealing layer after layer of embedded patterns, each one matching the quantum language they discovered. They encoded it into themselves. Kiran breathed, understanding dawning in her eyes. Every human carries this pattern in their genes. They've been preparing for this moment not just for years, but for generations. The quantum sensors spiked again. Throughout Council space, the geometric structures had begun to shift, their patterns aligning into new configurations. The countdown hidden in Earth's final broadcasts had reached its final seconds. They needed silence, Zixtal realized, not to hide their work, but to hear something. Something that's been there all along, hidden in the quantum fabric of space itself. As the countdown reached 0, every quantum sensor in the archives activated simultaneously. In the spaces between conventional reality, in the silence humanity had so carefully crafted, something ancient and profound began to wake up. The real message, the one humanity had spent generations preparing to understand, was about to be revealed. The message appeared on every screen across Council space simultaneously. We needed quiet to hear the music of the spheres. In the archives, Dr. Chen watched as ancient astronomical data suddenly gained new meaning. The quantum harmonics they'd discovered weren't just a communication system. They were a key to understanding something far more fundamental. Look at the stellar drift patterns, she pointed out, her hands dancing across the quantum interface. Every star, every planet, every piece of matter in the universe, they're all vibrating at specific frequencies. Frequencies that form patterns we never noticed because we were making too much noise to hear them. Zixtal's crystalline form resonated with the emerging frequencies. The humans didn't create this network. They discovered it. It's been here all along. The geometric structures throughout Council space began to shift, their surfaces rippling like liquid mercury. But instead of the expected destruction, they started to emit harmonics that matched the universal frequencies they detected. Each structure became a note in an impossibly vast symphony. Their amplifiers, Vexra realized, their patterns pulsing with excitement. The humans built them to enhance and clarify the universe's natural quantum harmonics. That's why they needed components from our ships. They were building instruments to play the music of reality itself. In orbit around Earth, massive arrays of the geometric structures began to phase into normal space, revealing themselves fully for the first time. Their surfaces weren't smooth as earlier observations had suggested. They were covered in intricate patterns that seemed to flow and change, responding to the quantum frequencies surrounding them. Dr. Chen's quantum display erupted with new data. The harmonics are affecting fundamental forces, gravity, electromagnetic fields, even the strong nuclear force. The humans aren't just listening to these frequencies, they're learning to conduct the orchestra. To demonstrate her point, a small asteroid near one of the structures began to transform. Its matter didn't break apart or dissolve. Instead, it reconstructed itself at the atomic level, the very elements shifting and changing in response to the quantum harmonics. Where once there was lifeless rock, now stood a perfectly engineered satellite station. Matter reconstruction through quantum resonance, Zixtal observed, their analysis crystals working overtime to process the implications. They've learned to speak the universe's native language. The Council's emergency channels lit up with reports from across the galaxy. The geometric structures were affecting everything around them, but not randomly. Each transformation followed precise patterns, improving and enhancing rather than destroying. Failing power systems suddenly operated at peak efficiency. Damaged ecosystems began to repair themselves. Even space itself seemed clearer, easier to navigate. This is why they needed silence, Vexra said softly. Not just their own, but as much as they could create. They were trying to hear these patterns clearly enough to understand them. Every ship they took, every component they gathered, it was all to help them listen better. In the center of the archive chamber, a new hologram appeared. It showed the Earth, but not as they'd ever seen it before. The planet pulsed with quantum energies, each frequency perfectly aligned with the universal harmonics they'd discovered. Humanity hadn't gone silent. They'd attuned themselves to a different kind of music. What we thought was inactivity was actually perfect synchronization, Dr. Chen explained. They aligned their entire civilization with these frequencies. And now, she gestured at the displays showing the transformations happening throughout Council space. Now they're teaching the rest of us how to hear it too. The geometric structures began to pulse in a new pattern, one that resonated with the fundamental frequency of space-time itself. But instead of the destruction such power could cause, they created something else. Bridges of pure energy spanning the gaps between stars, quantum corridors that could revolutionize interstellar travel. "This isn't an invasion," Zixtal announced, their voice carrying the weight of understanding. "It's an invitation. Humanity hasn't been preparing for war. They've been preparing to share the greatest discovery in the history of all civilizations." As if in response, every structure in council space pulsed once, sending out a wave of quantum harmony that carried a simple message. The silence is over. Now, let us teach you how to listen to the stars. The High Council chamber had never been so still. Representatives from every major civilization sat in perfect silence, watching as Dr. Chen and Zixtal presented their findings. The quantum harmonics that filled the room weren't just background noise anymore. They were a language everyone was beginning to understand. "The universe has always been speaking to us," Dr. Chen explained, her voice soft, but carrying easily through the harmonically enhanced acoustics. "We just couldn't hear it over our own noise. That's why humanity went silent. We needed to listen." The central display showed the network of geometric structures, now fully visible throughout council space. Each one pulsed in perfect synchronization with the universal frequencies they'd discovered, creating patterns of energy that defied conventional physics. "But that's not the most remarkable part," Zixtal added, their crystalline form resonating with the harmonics. "Show them what we found in the council's own archives." Dr. Chen nodded and adjusted the display. Ancient records appeared, showing mysterious energy patterns that had been dismissed as background radiation or sensor artifacts. But when overlaid with the quantum harmonics humanity had discovered, they formed a clear pattern. The Council itself detected these frequencies centuries ago, she revealed. But certain members deliberately buried the findings. They feared what would happen if civilizations learned to harness this fundamental force of reality. The chamber erupted in murmurs of shock and disbelief. Councillor Miraith, their ancient form dimming with shame, rose to speak. "It's true," they admitted. "We found the patterns during our early quantum experiments, but we saw only their destructive potential, the ability to reshape matter and energy at will. We feared such power would lead to chaos." Instead of chaos, Vexra interjected, their scholarly patterns bright with excitement. Humanity found harmony. They didn't just discover how to manipulate these frequencies, they learned to work with them, to become part of the universal symphony rather than trying to control it. The display shifted again, showing the transformation of the captured council ships. Each vessel hadn't been destroyed or stolen. They had been reformed, their very atoms restructured to resonate with the quantum harmonics. The crew members, rather than being harmed, had been given a glimpse of the universe's true nature. "This is why we took your ships," a new voice announced. Admiral Sarah Chen, Dr. Chen's mother, and one of the architects of humanity's great silence, appeared as a quantum projection in the chamber center. Each component, each person, helped us refine our understanding. We needed to ensure that when we finally shared this discovery, we could do so safely. The display showed the results of their careful preparation. Worlds transformed not through destruction, but through harmony. Dying stars stabilized by quantum resonance. Barren planets brought to life by precisely tuned frequencies. Even the fabric of space itself made more navigable through understanding of its fundamental rhythms. "But why the silence?" a council member demanded. "Why not share your discoveries as you made them?" Admiral Chen's projection smiled. "Because we needed to be certain, not just of the science, but of ourselves. This power could reshape reality itself. We had to prove, to ourselves, and to you, that we could be trusted with it." The quantum harmonics in the chamber shifted, and suddenly every being present could feel what humanity had discovered. The universe wasn't just a collection of matter and energy. It was a living symphony, every particle playing its part in an endless song. "The silence was our test," Dr. Chen explained softly. not of our technology, but of our wisdom. We had to show we could resist using this power until we truly understood it, until we could share it as a gift rather than wield it as a weapon. The geometric structures throughout council space pulsed once more, this time creating a harmonic pattern that made every quantum sensor in the galaxy resonate in perfect unity. In that moment, the true scope of humanity's gift became clear. They hadn't just discovered a new technology. They had found a way to turn the very discord of the universe into harmony, and they had waited, in patient silence, until they could be sure that harmony would not be broken. On the observation deck of Centauri Station, Zixtal stood with Dr. Chen and Vexra, watching as the first joint Human Council research team prepared to enter one of the geometric structures. The massive construct pulsed with gentle light, its quantum harmonics now a familiar song in the background of their consciousness. "It's strange," Dr. Chen mused, adjusting the neural interface that allowed her to perceive the universal frequencies more clearly. A month ago, the galaxy saw these structures as weapons. Now they're gateways to understanding everything we thought we knew. The structure's surface rippled like liquid starlight as the research vessel approached. This time, there was no fear among the crew, only anticipation. They had learned that the geometric patterns weren't barriers but windows, showing glimpses of reality's deeper nature. The Council's archives have been completely reorganized, Vexra reported, their patterns shifting with scholarly satisfaction. Once we understood the quantum harmonics, we found references to these frequencies in the histories of every civilization. We were all hearing pieces of the same song, but none of us knew how to listen properly. The display showed feeds from across Council space. The network of geometric structures had transformed from a source of fear into a framework for advancement. Ships now traveled through quantum corridors that cut journey times from years to minutes. Damaged worlds were healing as the harmonic frequencies restored natural balances. Even communication had evolved, with thoughts and emotions carried clearly across the quantum network. Humanity's gift wasn't just the technology, Zixtal observed, their crystalline form resonating with the surrounding harmonics. It was the patience to use it wisely. A soft chime announced the arrival of Admiral Chen's quantum projection. The human leader's form shimmered with the same frequencies that now connected all Council worlds. "The last of the old defense networks have been converted," she reported. "The quantum harmonics make traditional weapons obsolete anyway. You can't fight the universe's fundamental nature. You can only learn to work with it." The research vessel made contact with the geometric structure. Instead of the dramatic transformations they'd first witnessed, the interaction was smooth, natural. The ship's quantum signature aligned with the structure's frequencies, and it slipped effortlessly into a dimension that scientists had only theorized about before. "The Council has officially ratified the harmonic protocols," Vexra announced, displaying the latest update from the chamber. "All member species will have equal access to the quantum network, with joint oversight to ensure it's used for advancement rather than advantage." Dr. Chen smiled as she watched another ship approach the structure. That was the real purpose of the silence, wasn't it? Not just to hear the universe's song, but to prove we could be trusted with its power. Admiral Chen's projection nodded. "We found the quantum frequencies by accident, a side effect of an experimental communication system. But once we understood what we'd discovered, we knew we couldn't rush into using it. Power without wisdom is just another form of destruction." The observation deck's quantum sensors registered a new harmonic pattern emerging from Earth. The frequency carried not information or energy, but something more fundamental, a vision of possibility. Images of worlds restored, civilizations uplifted, and the barriers between species dissolved not by force but by understanding. "We're detecting similar frequencies from other civilizations now," Zixtal reported, their analysis crystals pulsing with excitement. "Not just echoing Earth's pattern, but adding their own harmonies to it. The universe's song is becoming richer as more voices join in." As if in response, the geometric structure before them shifted, its patterns flowing into new configurations that reflected the combined knowledge and creativity of all council species. The quantum harmonics swelled into a symphony of possibility, carrying the hopes and dreams of countless civilizations. The silence taught us how to listen, Dr. Chen said softly. Now it's time to add our own voices to the song. Above them, the stars seemed to shine more brightly, their light carrying the quantum frequencies that had always been there, waiting to be heard. Humanity's great silence had ended not with a bang or a whimper, but with an invitation to join in a cosmic harmony that would forever change what was possible. The universe was no longer a void to be conquered, but a symphony to be joined. And in the end, that made all the difference.